Things will not change in your life. You will live in the exact same pattern over and over and over again unless you become willing to change that pattern. You can try all the different things outside of yourself to make things the way you want them to be. You can control, you can manipulate, you can maneuver, you can con people, you can do whatever it is that you want to do to try to stay in that vision of what you think you need. But until you become willing to see things differently, until you become willing to open your mind to new ideas, only then can true change occur. A huge part of the conversation we're going to have tonight is about not letting those spiritual parts of our life be just a moment in time. Not letting ourselves just cleanse and then go back to the chaos of what we eat normally. Not letting ourselves work out for a month and then fall backwards to not exercising or moving at all. Because really living a miraculous life, living a fulfilled life, living a life with a miracle mindset, with sustainable energy, with vitality and grace, requires commitment, and it requires discipline, and it requires a desire. And so a huge part of what I'd like to do tonight for all of you, whether you're brand new to this conversation or it's something that you've never heard before or it's something that you've been practicing daily, I'd like to give you a tune-up and really set you up to win, not just for the rest of the summer, but for the rest of your life, using these tools that you learn in these events and using them and applying these principles in every corner of your life so that you can really say, yeah, today I'm committed to making change. Is anyone feeling that right now? Today you're committed. Yeah, raising your hands, right on, awesome. And that sounds good to me, I'm with you. I'm committed today to making change. And the truth really is that every day I'm committed to making change. I've been, as many of you know if you've read my books, I've been on a spiritual quest for my whole life, really, but for the past 8 years, I've been on a real steadfast spiritual journey, and that is a commitment that I didn't make just for the past 8 years. It's a commitment I make every single day. And I believe genuinely that that commitment and that discipline is what has really opened radical doors for me, has really helped me allow my dreams to become my reality and let the universe catch up with those desires. And so that is a reflection of what happens internally, not a reflection of what I'm doing out there. What I do out there is driven by what happens in here, and that's the case for all of us. And we all have the capacity to create that life that we really want to live if we make that internal commitment to create a life that we want to live with us, with yourself. Do you want to live with yourself? Do you want to wake up every day with you? Do you love what you are? Is all that is within you clean, clear, or are there blocks? And whatever those blocks are definitely affecting your outside experiences. So I think many of you can really resonate with that, I'm sure, deeply. We are a humankind of 7 billion, so many different races and religions, and it all comes down to one. And that oneness is not something that we experience that frequently. A lot of our life is an experience of separation, actually. It's quite the opposite of oneness, right? We see ourselves as separate, we see ourselves as less than, we see ourselves as different. And that energy of separation and specialness and all of that differentiation between what we experience and others is one of the biggest blocks to that presence of peace, to that presence of power. And so if we really want to awaken that power presence within us, then oneness has to be a priority. Then seeing equality within not only our interpersonal relationships that are intimate, but also in the relationships to people that we don't know. I mean, it was just a beautiful opportunity sitting in that meditation room for 15 minutes, sitting in there with one beautiful Jewish man saying his prayers. And I got to sit there while he repeated his prayers out loud. And then, he started to walk out, and I said, please don't leave. I'd like you to finish in here. And then have an Indian young woman come sit in the room with me and experience their spiritual experience with me. And that's what's so groovy about this conversation, is that when you come to a conversation of spirituality, there can't be any separation. we sometimes bring it in. We sometimes say, well, my practice is so special, right? But we have to be really mindful of that. We have to be mindful of really paying attention to the ways that we separate and make special. And so I just thought that was a nice, beautiful way to begin and a beautiful note to open this talk on. So I was sitting with Melise and Alexia talking about what we wanted this topic for tonight to be about. We wanted to talk about bringing more of a miracle mindset into our life, and really, that's all I ever want to talk about, so it was pretty easy. But there was this essence of their feedback that they begin to receive from a lot of their readers. And a lot of what they started noticing was people saying, okay, well, it's really easy to get excited about something new, whether it's getting on the green juice path or whether it's meditation practice or whether it's, a new fitness routine. It's easy to get excited about something new, but then how do I maintain that experience? How do I stay on track? Does anybody have that experience? Yeah, let's get a little bit more honest in here. Did anybody have that experience? Yes. Where you're in it to win it and then you're out. Right? And so that can be quite frustrating at times, right? We're in it to win it and then we're out. And so my hope and my intention for tonight is to give you some tools to begin to get you back into a place where you can create more of a sustainable practice in whatever area your practice may dwell, so that you can create a sustainable meditation practice, you can create a sustainable fitness practice. So most importantly, you can create a sustainable mindset of miracles so that you can start to get into the practice of choosing to see things differently all the time, not just when it's convenient or not just when you've hit your knees and shattered. Right? I mean, a lot of us come to these practices when we're hitting a bottom of some kind. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. In that bottom, we're cracking open and we're willing to receive new information, but we're also really receptive at that time. As we start to feel better and as we start to move into our practice, we kind of get the F-its and we move in a new direction. We start to hear that voice of our ego say, you're okay without that. You don't really need that anymore. That meditation was great. It got you here. You're fine now. Oh, you're so thin. You did all the work that you needed to do. You don't need to lose any weight. You don't need to actually get healthy and live healthy, right? You could always go back on a cleanse if you need to, right? That voice. Or that workout was great, but now I'm too busy to get back into the gym. And that little voice that sneaks up on us and says, yeah, we've had enough. I've had enough. That's enough, right? And that voice can really be the downfall of your practice. And so I see a lot of people go in and out of that sort of yo-yo of their practice, whether it's the yo-yo of meditation or the yo-yo of their diet or the yo-yo of their exercise. And I actually really don't emphasize perfection at all. I think that my greatest virtue is my willingness to be imperfect. But what I do emphasize is progress. And what I do really believe in is commitment and discipline and repetition. And I believe that in order to have these types of practices take on a life of their own and take over and allowing yourself to experience an energy far greater than you that begins to show up in your life in a way where you don't know why you wound up in places like this, right? Like that experience I had with Marcella is a common experience for me. As I say often, miracles are natural, and when they're not occurring, something has gone wrong. That's a great message from A Course in Miracles. The miracle of being guided to this space with absolutely no idea how it ended up happening. Still to this day, I don't know how I got that address in my inbox. And that is the norm. Miracles are natural, miracles are normal. And so the real message is, what is it that is coming up for you that is blocking your capacity to be led, to be guided from an inner guidance system, a voice within you that is loving, all-knowing, supportive, purposeful, right? What is it that is blocking that inner knowing and that guidance? And that's what we need to really begin to look at tonight. And so really, what I wanted to do tonight is really begin to empower, energize, and reignite the belief system that I know you all have. I know each and every one of you would not have spent the money for the ticket or gone out on a hot night or spent 2 hours in this room if there wasn't a belief system within you that said, yes, things can be easier, yes, things can be better, yes, I believe that I could have a free-flowing experience, yes, I believe in more, yes, I have faith that there is something greater. I know that each and every one of you, whether you are the most cynical person on the planet, it doesn't matter, there's a place within you that has faith. And that's really all that we need. We just need that slight willingness. Things will not change in your life. You will live in the exact same pattern over and over and over again unless... I hope you're enjoying this show, and if you want to get more Gabby, you can click the link below, subscribe to my Dear Gabby podcast on Apple, be the first to know when the episodes drop because they come out 1 week before the video. And you can download it to your phone, listen to it while you're driving, while you're cooking, while you're working out. You can just get more Gabby wherever you are. And if you feel called, leave a review. I'd love to hear from you. Now let's get back to this episode. You become willing to change that pattern. You can try all the different things outside of yourself to make things the way you want them to be. You can control, you can manipulate, you can maneuver, you can con people, you can do whatever it is that you want to do to try to stay in that vision of what you think you need. But until you become willing to see things differently, until you become willing to open your mind to new ideas, only then can true change occur. You going out and making change does not work. The real change has to happen on an internal level. It has to happen and dwell in that space within you. The real change has to first and foremost come from a desire to change and a desire to accept that that change may not look exactly like the way you wanted it to look. And that's major because we hold on to all of these ideas of how things need to be, how we want them to be. And when we expect them to be that way and only that way, then when they don't look like that, that's when we fall off the path, right? So some of you may have started your spiritual path and you start to see, oh wow, a lot of stuff started to come up. And you say, well, that's not the plan I had for my spiritual path. And then your ego says, oh, well, don't bother with that anymore. That's a waste of your time, right? Or you start to feel better and your ego says, well, something within you believes that you still need to be the victim. Something within you still needs to have problems, and you self-sabotage to stay stuck in that experience of having problems. That's all on the unconscious level, but it's happening to each of us, keeping us in those old patterns and old behaviors. And so our work every day is to not only really be willing to change internally, but also willing to look at what's going on internally. Willing to get honest about what's going on internally, okay? So all of that limited thinking is another way that we fall backwards. So another thing that we were talking about when we were looking at this lecture, we were saying, well, what about those experiences when you really are great all day, right? All day you've been in your path, all day you've been checking your affirmations on your iPhone, all day you've been drinking your juice, all day you've been, doing your little squats at your desk or whatever you do. And then come, 6, 7, 8 o'clock, right? The magic hour. Everyone's laughing because you do this. It all goes to crap, right? It all goes to crap. That, you pick up the drink or you pick up the sugar or you forget the affirmation and you start texting the person that you're not supposed to be with and they'd make you crazy. And you go there, right? And then when you go there, you feel guilty. You feel awful, right? And in that place of that guilt, that creates more separation, that creates more negativity, right? That place of guilt creates what A Course in Miracles would refer to as the guilt cycle, right? So you go into that place of, oh, I'm not good enough, I suck, I fell off that bandwagon, I ate that sugar, I texted that guy, and then you really go into fear and you say F everything and you run. Right? And you run and you go, well, I had that sugar, I'm going to eat the whole cake. I texted that guy, I'm going to meet him now. And that becomes your experience. That becomes your reality. And so that, for me, my experience with getting the F-its, right, and just going and going and going, you're not in a place where your practice, though it may be well-intended, there's some fine-tuning that needs to happen in that practice. There's some work that needs to occur so that you can sustain that miracle mindset past 7 o'clock. Everybody ready for that? Yeah. Okay, so this was a great topic. I absolutely loved it, and I felt it was so necessary because in the summer we make these great, awesome, lofty desires to change, and we make these desires to feel better and look better, and it's a great, whenever the seasons change, it's an opportunity for us to say, well, now I'm going to clean my act up, right? And truthfully, I think every day is an opportunity to do that. I think every day, every moment brings us an opportunity to change. That actually is the first message, the first lesson, which is that in those moments when you witness yourself going to crazy town, when you're in the bar and you had decided that you weren't going to drink for the month of August or the month of July, because we're still in July, and you were not going to drink for the month of July, and you sit down and the margarita's in front of you and you go, who cares? Party's on, right? And then you wake up the next day and you're pissed. Or more importantly, rather than waking up the next day and you're pissed, maybe you're halfway through the drink and you notice, damn, I didn't want to do that. But really what your ego wants to do is say, well, F everything and run, and keep you in the cycle and keep you going. And let that guilt take over, and that guilt cycle becomes your reality. And that guilt cycle becomes your chaotic thoughts that take over. And your guilt cycle becomes more self-sabotage. So I had it, I'll have more. Let's just nail this into the stake, right? And so in that moment, in that divine moment, when you witness and recognize, I went there again, you have a really neat opportunity to pivot. You have an opportunity to simply set a new intention. In that moment, not the next day, or not 20 days later, right, when you've already gone so far out that you feel sick and you need 5 colonics, right? But the next moment. Every moment is a holy instant. It's an opportunity to shift. It's an opportunity to see things differently. It's an opportunity to change your energy, change your perception, change your life. And so I'm actually not asking you to not screw up. I'm just asking you to experience those screw-ups differently, to meet those moments with a different vibe, a different energy, a different intention. And if you can start to, in each divine moment, add up that miracle shift, that shift of saying, I picked up that drink and I didn't want to, or I started eating that meat and I didn't want to, or I texted that guy and I didn't want to. In that moment, first and foremost, forgive yourself. Forgive yourself instantly. Radical forgiveness is one of the greatest tools for living a miraculous life. Radical forgiveness, moment-to-moment forgiveness, forgiveness of yourself first and foremost, because that place of self-hatred and self-attack and self-judgment is keeping you in self-hatred, self-attack, and self-judgment. That place, that anger, that resentment is not letting you change. It's not letting you move beyond your disbelief. It's not letting you open up and unlock that powerful presence within you. In fact, it's doing quite the opposite. It's keeping you in the chaos. So forgive yourself. How do I forgive myself? Forgiveness is an intention. Forgiveness is a desire. Forgiveness is a choice. It's not doing anything. It's choosing something. It's in an instant saying, I choose to let this go. Right now, I choose to forgive myself. I choose to be okay with whatever just happened. I choose this. This is my choice. I always say happiness is a choice that you make. And so in that moment of forgiveness, you have a really radical opportunity to choose differently. And so that would be my hope and my intention for you, is just make that commitment right then and there. And does everybody see the difference between going down crazy town and having like 3 weeks later and having to like do 10 life coaching sessions, 13 colonics, and like 5 cleanses to get back to a place of self-forgiveness? It's quite different than being in that moment, in the instant, saying, I forgive myself now. Powerful, right? Okay, so that's step 1. I have a lot of different tools in here, but one that I love a lot is to play it out, right? So in those moments when we feel we're going into that chaotic place, when in doubt, play it out. Okay, write this down, or just put it in your back pocket. Remember this one. When in doubt, play it out. The concept of playing it out has saved me through so many different situations, and it has helped me continuously grow and expand that commitment and that discipline that I so desperately needed in order to create a new pattern in my life, whatever the new pattern was. Whether the new pattern was getting sober and staying clean, whether the new pattern was not engaging in, relationships that weren't right for me, whether the pattern was not abusing myself with my thoughts, whether the pattern was not overeating, whatever the pattern was, when in doubt, playing it out was an amazing opportunity for me in any given situation. Just became a really, really great moment to shift. So this conversation, when in doubt, play it out. You have these moments where you're going out, you're in the wrong direction, you're in crazy town, right? In that place of being crazy, you can continue to go crazy, and you can just get stuck in that delusional place of it's okay, it's safe, I'm okay to be in that place. This is healthy. I need that drink to numb out. That drink is good. I'm okay. I deserve it, right? I deserve it. That's a big one. I earned this. And then you just go far off the rocker. When in doubt, though, in those moments, if you catch yourself and you say, okay, well, this is not going right. We need a new direction. This is not the place I need to be. If you can catch yourself in those divine moments, and you can have that next step of forgiving yourself and say, I forgive you, it's okay, we're gonna try something new. The next step is to play out the story. So take yourself through the whole story. So maybe you've been eating well all day long, and all of a sudden you hit that meal, and that meal's in front of you, and you're starting to eat the French fries, and you're starting to eat the chips and salsa, and you're starting to drink the drink, and it's just all happening. And you're in that place where you're like, it's okay, and you're justifying. That moment is an opportunity to play out the entire situation. So then you have to sit there for 5 seconds, 30 seconds, 20 seconds, however long it takes you, to see yourself through the entire scenario. See yourself eating that whole meal. See yourself being so sick that you can't shut your pants. See yourself going home feeling like you can't fall asleep because you're so unwell because you ate so much. See yourself waking up in the morning feeling sick and hungover from all that food. See yourself going through the next day hating yourself and beating yourself up and just self-sabotaging because you're so angry that you went there. See the whole story through. This saved me when I was getting sober, because I could see, okay, what does that first drink do? That first drink looks fine. That first drink is no problem. But for me, I had bigger problems than alcohol, so that first drink led to other scary things. And in order to stay committed to the practice of sobriety, that drink wasn't the problem. It's what happened once I had that second drink or that third drink, and what would I be led to. And in order to really maintain that commitment of sobriety, which has been sustained now for nearly 8 years, thank you, I'm very proud of that, thank you. 8 years of one day at a time, when in doubt, playing it out, I was led to really realize, especially when things get better, when things get better, we become more delusional, okay? When you feel better, when you are on that straight and narrow for a really nice period of time, you become more delusional. You think, oh, no, it's okay, it's all good. I'll be fine with that glass of wine. Play it out. So take that really seriously. Use this tool in your day-to-day life. Play out the circumstances. Play out the scenario. See yourself in those moments. See yourself getting to that place where it's not looking good anymore. And that honesty and that fearlessness and that willingness to look at the whole situation very clearly will be one of your greatest gifts in keeping yourself on that path of new perceptions. Okay? Cool. Another piece here that I wanted to really emphasize is just really recognizing that what we experience is our choice once again. So there's a lesson in May Cause Miracles, and it's from A Course in Miracles. I am responsible for what I see. Taking responsibility for what you're experiencing. I think so many of us don't take responsibility for our life circumstances. We look at our life and we say, oh, well, my mother did that to me, right? And I'm going to keep overeating because I learned this from my mom. And unconsciously, every time you pick up that food and that fork and you overeat, you're literally taking that knife and stabbing your mother in the back, right? Saying, well, you did this to me. And it's a form of saying, I'm going to punish you now. Does that resonate with anybody? Yeah. So being in that victim mentality, right? Really saying, oh, well, this was done to me, or this is because of the economy, or this is because, of my age, or this is because I'm not good enough, or this is because of my race, or this is because I'm a woman, or whatever, right? That is a choice you've made. That is a choice that you've made based on maybe some influences in your life. There are plenty of them. But it's really your choice. Do you want to believe in that influence, or do you want to see it differently? Do you want to create a new reality? What you experience is your creation. And so I want you to really take seriously, what is it that I am choosing? How have I participated in this experience? What have I been doing that's made this happen? And really get honest with yourselves, seriously honest with yourselves about that. Okay? The next thing here also is really, I want to give people this little dialogue around permission-given thoughts. When I was early in my sober recovery, I was talking to my addiction specialist, and this is before I really made the commitment to get sober. And he taught me a lesson that has saved me in so many situations far beyond my sober recovery. And what he suggested was that when we give ourselves permission-given thoughts to do things, even if it's slight permission, when it's something that we know may be an addictive area in our life, or something that we know is not right for us, that relationship we know we shouldn't go back to, that drug that we should not pick up again, that sugar that we know is a trigger that takes us so far out that we can't come back. Knowing, we all know what our triggers are. We all know where we're powerless and where we really should not be getting involved. But in those moments, we become insane, and we go. But if you have a commitment that you set where you no longer give yourself permission to do those things, and this may sound a little bit too intense for people, so you have to self-soothe right now and self-teach at the moment, because you may say, oh, well, that's a little too much for me. But if you feel like you're someone who constantly falls back because you've given yourself that little door opening, that little window that you can creep into and say, oh, I'm going to pick up that drink again. I'm not going to go to the gym today. Those permission-given thoughts are what lead us back into that bad behavior. And so in some cases, it's really up to each of us individually to decide what area of our life we don't want to have permission to embark in. And I know that sounds a little intense and a little bit serious, but you know what? Life is serious. Happiness is something we have to take seriously. And so if you want to be really confident and comfortable in your day-to-day circumstances, sometimes that means don't give yourself permission to do things that you know are going to screw you up. It's a lot more simple than we make it. For the past 8 years, I have not given myself permission to drink alcohol, and therefore I have not given myself permission to do drugs, right? I have not given myself permission. I do not have permission to do that. It isn't an option, and the second it becomes an option is the second I pick up a drink. And so there's areas of your life where you have to decide right now, there's some areas for me that I don't need to do that, right? I have a healthy relationship with, let's call it sugar today. I can have a little sugar and I don't need to pick it up tomorrow. I can have a bite of that cake and I can put it down. That's today. That wasn't 7 years ago, but that's today. So there's areas where you know you can dabble. But those areas where you cannot dabble anymore, please get honest with yourself, because that will greatly support your momentum. If you say, no, I can't, I don't do that. That's a massive statement. I don't do that. And that's not saying I'm separate or I'm special or I'm not good enough. It's just, I love myself too much to do that. I love myself too much to go back to that relationship that's just not right for me. I love myself too much to pick up that sugar because that sugar leads me in the wrong direction. I love myself too much to pick up that drink. I love myself too much to not go to the gym today, right? So giving yourself that real serious commitment, and maybe you just take a moment right now. What is the area of your life where you have been giving yourself that slight permission? That permission is that little window that just becomes a huge opening that you dive into and you just go for it, right? So what areas are you giving yourself permission where you probably can take back? It's pretty powerful. The other thing here I want to really emphasize, and this is something I just love saying out loud. It just sounds so good. It makes me feel so good. So I'm now a student and a teacher of Kundalini Yoga and meditation, and we're going to do some more meditation tonight, one meditation in particular, which I just learned yesterday, and I love it. And so as a student of Kundalini, what I have come to understand and learn is that there's this great sutra from the Aquarian age, and Yogi Bhajan was the master who came here to the West to teach us these principles and this technology in 1969. And he came with the intention of really creating these new forms of messages so that people can really recalibrate their energy, reorganize their nervous system, and restore themselves, especially at this time, the time that we live in now, this time that's so chaotic, that's so tech-driven, that's so fast-paced, that's so easy to be taken out in the wrong direction. And so one of the things that he taught in this 5 sutras for the Aquarian age, which I just love so much, is there is a way through every block. Does that sound nice? Does anybody feel good when I say that? Some people are like, yeah, I like that. Write it down. There is a way through every block. What does that look like on your notebook? What does it look like on the page? There is a way through every block. That experience of recognizing or just accepting, even for a fleeting moment, there is a way through every block. That can change your life. That energy, that belief system is what we need to up and educate and evolve and grow. That experience of accepting that there is a way through every block. And so what I welcome you to start to do in those areas of your life where you've been really putting up those stop signs, blocking yourself purposefully, getting stuck, staying in that poor behavior, start to accept, maybe it's just through a daily intention setting, there is a way through every block. Make that your mantra. That must be the mantra of this time because we need creative ideas and new ways of thinking in order to survive these times. I took a Kundalini class yesterday, and my teacher was there, and she was talking about the meditation. She said, this will be really powerful because it will expand your energy fields, and it will help you protect you. Because she goes, because it's tough out there. And she pointed to Center Street, out there. It's tough out there. And so we don't need to be the victim of the toughness of the world, but we need to just accept it's tough out there. There's so much heightened right now. Everything's so fast. Everything's moving so quickly. Everything's so intense. Anyone feel like they're in a pressure cooker? Do you feel like everything's speeding up so fast? I really need to move fast with it, right? I got to keep up, right? Well, we can keep up, but we can keep up with a sustainable energy rather than a manic energy. And so really, first and foremost, accepting there is a way through every block. Use that, take that, own that. That is your mantra. That is my mantra gift to you. There is a way through every block. So when you leave here tonight and you get that text message from that person that's been driving you crazy, just say to yourself, shut your eyes one moment. There is a way through every block. Even if you don't believe it, just say it, think it, feel it, know it, then you believe it. So just begin with thinking it. Just start taking it in, trusting it. See what happens. See what happens to your energy. Let it shift. See what happens to your thoughts when you choose that thought instead. What's the change in you? Are you breathing more deeply? Are you feeling a little bit more calm? It's those fleeting moments of calm that carry you through your life. A woman called my radio show today and she said, "What do I do? I'm so uncomfortable. I'm so sad. I'm so distraught. I don't know what to do." I said, "Well, do you have moments of serenity when you read Spirit Junkie?" She was a reader of Spirit Junkie. "Or when you meditate, or when you say a prayer. Do you have moments?" She said, "Well, I have seconds." I said, "Great. That's all you need." And she said, "Well, just add up those seconds." I said, "Yeah. Those seconds of peace are miracles. And the more you add up those miracles, the more you're living a miraculous life." And so that's not the job for us to say we need to feel good all the time. This is saying really accepting and celebrating those moments of peace, those experiences of peace. And as we use these tools that we start to take as we read Well and Good, or we read books like May Cause Miracles, or we come to lectures like this, when we apply those tools in our life, it's inevitable that we'll start to experience moments of peace. And those moments must not be denied. Those moments, the ego is going to want to deny them till it's over, right? Our work is to just accept them fully, embrace them, and celebrate them, and trust that those moments are what we need to create permanent change. If you like this video and you want to get more Gabby, check out the next one right over here.